I saw it as a dark comedy. Like he was saying, I saw it as a comedy. I mean, you can see there's Tuco's funny, right? Right?
Yeah.
He's funny, wasn't he?
I thought it was great. Yeah, I thought it was like a great little independent film when I read the script, you know. And that's what made me worried that it wouldn't go on because it was too good for TV. You know? But luckily, the AMC was new. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't bother us. They didn't give us stupid notes, you know. And Vince was just able to create the show he wanted to create. And since all they had left was Mad Men, they're like, all right, we'll do another season. And Brian started getting nominated for Best Actor and winning. So I think that had a big part of why we stayed on AMC. And then once it got to Netflix, it was game over. You know, it just changed the fact that just, you know, they invented the term binge watching for Breaking Bad on Netflix. When it first came out, it was 30% of their streaming was Breaking Bad. Wow. That's when they figured out, whoa, yeah, they're like, we better, you know, kind of come up with our own stuff, and that's when they started with the House of Cards and some other stuff that they were producing themselves, because they realized they'd be at the mercy of a show like us if they didn't, you know. So it was interesting times.
AMC, man. I was a big AMC watcher when they would do the old school movies and shows and the Fright Night Fridays and all that. And so when when I read this pilot, I loved it. You know, I was a young kid, but it felt home to me, oddly enough. But I really, this show wouldn't exist without AMC and Sony and that willingness to put something like this on the air, because in the beginning people hated it. I got death threats and
Just because you're acting.
That too. But like, no, people had a hard time realizing it. And you know, Breaking Bad came out when it came out in 2008, and during the writer's strike and the recession, you know, I think it really resonated with a lot of people, and that really changed a lot of people's mindsets, and gave people an outlet that I think people needed, and it was a perfect show at the perfect time, and it could never be recreated.
Yeah, a lot of times, like we would get locations in Albuquerque when it first started, and you know, like churches wouldn't let us use their parking lots, you know, because they saw it was about math, and different people wouldn't let us, you know, even if we didn't film there, they wouldn't even let us park there. But then by the end, they gave us the key to the city.
Literally.
Obviously, whenever you do a series as popular as Breaking Bad, it's like I tell my wife, I'll always love you, even though there are days we may not necessarily like each other. So, what part of the series did you really, really love, and what part, like, not
6 a.m. calls. 6 a.m. calls. That was pretty miserable.
I mean, my favorite was when they got to kill Tuco. That was just me personally. You know?
I was always shooting in the desert, so it was always like 110 degrees and really hot and dry. So you know, I didn't really enjoy that. I was always outside. If you notice, always outside in the desert somewhere.
Also, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, it just reminded me how nice it was to shoot in the studio with that AC.
Really cold AC in the studio.
At what point in the series Breaking Bad did you guys realize, like, you know what, the critics liked it at first, the audience didn't like it, but when did you like, you know what, we're onto something here that's going to be really, really good?
Yeah, I don't think the audience ever didn't like it, they just didn't know where it was. And people were like, AMC, what is that, 355 on the channel or something like that, you know? And all this, of course, would be right at the beginning, right before streaming, and right when streaming came into existence. So what was
when
it popped, it was Netflix season 3. The difference between, like, once it got on Netflix and people started really piling into it on season 4 and season 5, and then when we took the break from season 5 to do the final episode, it just went exponential, because everyone had been told about it by their friends, and so they all caught up on Netflix, and then that last season, it was just like, you know, like being in the Rolling Stones for 6 months, you know, it was big.
I mean, I really feel, for me, when the show made the difference was at San Diego Comic-Con. Like, like the second to last year, and we walked out to a room of 7,000 people, and you know, it's like for me, this was, you know, Dean and Raymond and everyone else has had an extensive career in television and film, and here I was, a teenager from Louisiana and Texas, going into this world, and like I didn't, in the beginning I was just doing it, and then when I got to meet the fans like a room today, and it's like, oh, this shit's real. this happened. Okay, cool. So yeah.
Raymond, what it worked for you to realize, oh my God, we're onto something here?
You know, like I said, the first couple of seasons, I was on season 1 and 2, the end of 1 and the beginning of 2, and it wasn't really that big a success. Like, you know, I saw people doing the show Breaking Bad, they're all never heard of it. And then it wasn't until after the 3rd season when people started binge watching it, and everyone was like, oh my God, you got to see this show, I love this show. I go, I'm on the show. you got to see it. I go, I put 2. They go, oh my God, that's you? But yeah, and you know, and then it's funny because it's you start seeing different generations discovering the show. Like you know, these young kids coming up to me, like, oh my God, I love Breaking Bad. And I'm like, wow, what are you, 10?
Well, that's the fun thing about the life, the entertainment business the way it is now. Is it's not like a nice book on the shelf, and every generation that gets older, then finally then they take it and they check it out. You know, I think a lot of college-age kids, you know, finally get to college and they get to sit there and they binge watch it with their friends, and so you get continuously new generations of every year, not even generations, every year you get a whole batch of new people that discover it. So.
What's funny is about the streaming now versus the streaming then. Breaking Bad was the #1 show, but not on Netflix. We were the #1 most pirated show in the history of television. This was a statistic from around 2008 to 2012. LimeWire and all the piracy networks before Netflix switched the box to digital. We had our largest audience was Eastern Europe, illegally streaming for a while.
We'll take some questions for you folks in just a second. So feel free to raise your hand. For the 4 questions, what was the most embarrassing yet most fun moment you had doing the series? I'm also a reporter in real life. So.
Yeah, the most embarrassing is how easy it was to kill 2 goats. That could be a little tougher. You know what I'm saying?
The most embarrassing is getting killed by Hank. Like that would happen.
Oh man, I think not embarrassing, but one of the wildest ones for me was the scene with us drinking tequila by the pool, and there's a scene where Dean's like, no, I think he's had enough, and I go and I throw up in the pool. But in that scene, I had an air compressor hooked up to the side of my face, and like we were just like shooting this serialized breakfast and Gwen vomit that they made from Crafty that morning, and it all like went through my face. I was covered in it, shot up my nose, and I was just like, it wasn't embarrassing. I was just like, ugh. and you know, I didn't eat that day because I was dealing with this big vomit. It was definitely unappealing. And I get home, my mom's cooked dinner for me, and she's like, "Oh, I made your favorite vegetable soup." And I'm like, "I'm good." That's what was shooting up my nose. I was blowing out A's nose.
All right, we'll start with this gentleman right here. This is the first one I saw.
First, I want to say huge props to you guys for giving us such an amazing show. I really loved watching all of it. This one's for RJ. What do you think the interaction between you and Jesse Pinkman would have been like, since it's something we never really saw during the show?
I beat that kid with my crutches. I think it would have been cool. I like Aaron. I used to hang out with him on set and go play Halo on the old Xbox before the 360. But I think it'd be cool. I think it would be good. But like, I'm happy that our characters had a duality. You know, I never got to meet 2 show, and I never got to meet any of the bad guys. I did meet Giancarlo as Gus Fring for a moment with this man. He took me to Los Polos Hermanos. But I think it would have been interesting, but I'm very happy we never connected those two worlds. That's why I'm still alive.
Over here is right there.
So my question is actually for Raymond, as somebody that loved watching Major Crimes. Who was your favorite cast member to work with?
I love working with myself. I'm very professional. And I show up.
He's about the only one.
On Major Crimes, my favorite cast member, I love Tony Dennison because he's just a really sweet guy, and I just always enjoy doing scenes with him. So Tony or JK was a really great actor to work with. He was always like in and out. He would just come in and do like one scene and be gone, and we'd be doing our ensemble thing. But it was fun. It was fun playing a detective for such a long time.
Over here.
So I have a question for all three of you. Obviously, there are some funny moments in Breaking Bad that are memed a lot on the internet, but there are some more emotionally taxing moments. Was there ever a moment when you were working in the show that kind of hit you harder than another?
That's like every scene I had to do.
Yeah, they worked for me for sure. Just that whole, once you switch from being fun Hank to being PTSD Hank, it kind of, the whole rest of those 3 seasons were a little more intense to have to do and stuff. So, yeah. And I lost both my parents during the show. So it turned out that those last few seasons were a little easier to kind of get in that mind space. So yeah, I became an orphan on Breaking Bad. And
This man's got the biggest family ever.
so anyway, really after that it was kind of tough. Any of those emotional scenes. So.
I think 2 stand out for me. One was when I go find Walt. The garage opens up and he's in his underwear after the parents split. He's talking about his father dying of emphysema and lung cancer. At the same time, my grandfather was dying of emphysema and lung cancer. And so I was flying back and forth taking care of him during that period of time. So that was very real for me in that sense. And there was another part I'm trying to remember. But I think for me that was kind of the most emotional scene. Oh, and when he takes the knife, I think that was high intensity. But that wasn't really like hard. That was fun. I got to throw Bryan Cranston around. Everyone likes to do that. But yeah.
Over there though. Orange and yellow.
Hi, in my opinion, this is kind of an iconic question, and it's a question for all 3 of you. So my ex is a big fan of Breaking Bad. His name is actually Giancarlo. So what dating advice would you give to him in character? All of you.
His name's Giancarlo?
Yes.
Get back with this person, Giancarlo.
Make sure you eat your breakfast.
I don't care.
Let's go on this side. The gentleman right there in the back.
Yellow shirt, right?
Yeah.
So this question is for Dean Norris, and she's going to wonder, so when did you find out Hank was going to die, and what was your reaction to it?
I found out about 2 years before, and Vince took me aside and he said, I'm not sure if it's going to be the second last episode or right around there. And he says, he knew the line. He said, you're going to die, but you're going to die with your dignity. You're going to say something like, and he had the line. So I'm like, my name's Hank Schrader. You can go fuck yourself.
And there's your F-bomb, ladies and gentlemen.
So, And then sure enough, man, about 2 years later, there it was. Because they had figured out what the run of the show was going to be, and that they would kind of knew at that point that that's what it was going to, how it was going to end. So he let me know.
There's another person over here. I thought, yeah, gentleman right there.
Thank you guys for everything you did in the show. It's just fantastic. Best show ever. I had heard originally that Jesse was only written in the first year, the first season, and that because of something that happened and fans, that they ended up keeping him in. Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was the actually saved Gomi's life too, because the writer strike came. So they, I know Jesse was supposed to go, but I knew that Gomi was going to die in the next episode, and then the writer strike happened. And Gomi and I were friends, and I was living in Albuquerque at the time, so the whole time the writer strike was on, I'd go golfing with him twice a week, and know that he's going to die when we come back. So, but I never told him, thank God. And because of the writer's strike, they rethought on certain things, and they kind of recalibrated it, and there he is, all the way to the end. So, I mean, if he was going to like buy an expensive house or something, I might have told him. You know?
We were supposed to have, what, 12 episodes, 13 episodes in the pilot season versus 8?
Yeah, I mean, we were literally on set, and the strike happened. I'm like, okay, and everybody walked off. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there we go.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is a question for any of you who wants to give me an answer. Your co-stars Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul have an alcohol brand. I'm just dying to know the quality of that. Is it good? Is it good?
It's all right. I mean, if you like mezcal, tequila, it's good. I'm not.
If you like really smoky, rotten tasting shit. No, I'm just
Well, they
kidding.
are meth dealers.
They are meth dealers. You know, I have a restaurant in California, so we serve up those hombres. We have a drink called the Heisenberg, and people love it. So. Yeah, and we have Schrader Brother on draft. So if you guys ever make it out to Temecula, stop in the Swinging Cafe and get a Heisenberg and a Schrader Brown.
Hi. First of all, I wanted to say, Dean, your representation of PTSD is one of the most accurate ones I've seen on screen, and that representation means a lot of people. Means a lot to people who have it. So I appreciate it. But I wanted to ask, and I've been so curious about this for so long, what your guys' reaction was to the hate that Skylar White received as a character. Because I feel like Anna Gunn went through so much, and it was so devastating for me because she was just she's so brilliant. And I wanted to know if you guys had any thoughts on that.
I thought she deserved all of it.
Yeah, she was a shit mom. She was the best. My fondest memories on set are all of us working together as a family. Dean and Betsy and Anna and Brian, and when we all got together, it was like magic. And Anna really, with the breakfast tables and stuff, she really was a loving mother on and off set. I understand why people didn't like her. But at the same time, though, if you were put in that position, you would probably be doing the same thing.
Hello. My question is for all of you guys, actually. What would you say was your favorite season of the show to work on?
Pilot, that's it.
When did you die, Sam?
Season 2.
Yeah, so season 2 after.
Season 2, everything after that.
I love season 1 and 2 because I was in season 1 and 2.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you again for your work on the show. We absolutely love it. Question for ASAC himself. You've mentioned in interviews before kind of being always the alphabet characters, DEA, FBI, NYPD. Are there any future alphabet characters you wanted to play? NASA, PETA, FAFSA,
Wow, keep going. I'll play them all. I think I played most of the things in that kind of category. I still get cast a lot and those kinds of stuff, but I'm trying to you know, I've done some comedy and I've done some roles. I'm doing one order this year where I'm actually not a cop. I'm playing the brother of Chris Maloney, plays Stabler, and he's like a real estate developer. So, you know, I find different things to kind of keep it fresh.
At least he gets to walk.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if
I
that
heard an RJ. That's not like my girl.
Hello everyone, my question is for Raymond. So it's known, but I wanted to know from your perspective, throwing Jesse through that screen door, understanding that he was concussed, and you made a decision in that moment to make sure that he was okay, and they had to retake, or I guess cut from there, and then continue the scene later on, and you had to get help immediately. What was going through your mind then?
I just wanted to fuck him up. This little bitch thinks he can stand in front of me and survive. I just want to squash him like the bug. No, that was you know, anytime you do stunts, it's really dangerous, and I actually try to talk him out of it, because, you know, I don't throw him through the screen door, I grab him, he runs, I let go. He has to hit the door with his arms crossed. He does it like 2 times, and it's fine. The 3rd time he opened his arms, and they used that tape. He got hooked on the screen door comes off the hinges, he helicopters, the screen door hit him in the head, he lands on the ground, and like, I'm walking out, like, I'm watching this, and I'm going, wow, that was great. I walk out, and I see him on the ground, and he gets up, you know, I pick him up, and his eyes, you know, I look at his eyes, and he's a little dazed, so I just kind of keep going. I'm holding an M16. Now, in rehearsal, you know, when I'm talking to Aaron, we're talking about what we're going to do. They wanted me just to punch him. Walter comes over, I pulled the M16 on him, and I said, you know, I got a better idea. I'm going to throw you over my shoulder, I'm going to run, I'm going to jump into that wall, I'm going to slam you into the wall, you're going to slide down the wall, and then I pulled the gun on Walter. They go, you can do that? And I go, yeah. So, and then Aaron said, oh, I want to do it. I go, are you sure? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I want to do it. I go, you should let the stuntman do it. He goes, no. I want to do it. And I go, okay. And then we all know what happened.
Hello. This is for RJ. As a person with disabilities, it's always refreshing to see a character with disabilities actually played by a person with disabilities, and who is playing a character that's not just, you know, who actually gets to be a person. And I wanted to know if you knew the impact that you were going to have from people when you were just a kid getting this role. Was it a responsibility that you felt you were taking on, or was it just, this is a job?
There's a fine line to that. There's a fine line of all of your role in portraying the character of anything, the responsibilities of those characters. And you know, when I was a kid, I grew up in a very philanthropic existence. My grandfather was a big philanthropist, and so I understood the importance of philanthropy and representation. And so when I got Walter White Jr., you know, my character wasn't just some character written with a disability. My character was a real person that Vince knew in college, that sometime after college passed away, and so Walt Jr. is kind of in memory of him. And you know, at the beginning of starting Breaking Bad, I would work with the Screen Actors Guild and the Academy and stuff, because there wasn't really many people with disabilities representing people with disabilities. And so, as far as like a responsibility or an obligation, really, I didn't feel that as much as I do now. It was more of like okay, let's keep doing this and help others as much as possible to show accurate and honest representation. And you know, in my career now, which has been almost 20 years since starting, I understand the need even more than I did then. And you know, we try to bring as much positivity and representation and accuracy as possible. And you know, Walt Jr. is a great example of an individual with a disability who's just trying to live his life. And that's what we were really creating. Is this kid isn't some kid with CP. And I talked to Vince in the beginning, in the casting in the beginning, about Walt Jr., you kind of like, I'm not really going to like play up certain things. And you exaggeration of it and really keep it internally that it's just a kid trying to live his life who happens to have cerebral palsy. And I think that's something that really helped me create Walt Jr. But representation is everything.
Hi, this might be a silly question. Might be for more Dean and RJ, but Raymond, if you know too, what is up with Marie and Purple? Like, was that a joke that came around? But
Dean can answer that. He lived there.
There were so many, there were like household things that existed in purple that I never knew could possibly exist in purple. I mean, we had like blenders in purple, we had all kinds of stuff. You know, it was never explained. And I think it was just a kind of a quirky thing that her character loved all this stuff. And they just let it lay there because people ask questions like this 20 years later.
You know what was really, really cool? When we talk about the colors of Breaking Bad and the purples, and we all had amazing color palettes. So every character, not just what they're going through personally and what we're portraying, but when we got our wardrobe, there were wardrobe choices of the art. People know what the art, what the characters are, and it's like the beginning, the middle, and the end. And our wardrobe department did an amazing job of creating stories within our stories of our clothes. And as you watch Breaking Bad, when you rewatch it, look at the difference of how Dean's character's clothes change from oranges and other things to darker. And most characters started in brighter colors and ended in black, very morning. And then like my character ending from stripes and colors to camouflage and boots. And so like I think it's kind of a great, an amazing thing that what they've done with the color palettes for the show.
First thing, I love you guys so much, and I love Breaking Bad. And my question is, what was your favorite episode to film?
Mine was season 3, 1 minute, when I had a couple of crazy Mexican assassins trying to cut my head off. And we fixed that.
Got it handled. For me, the pilot episode changed everything for me. I didn't have a lot of work beforehand. I worked mostly as an extra in smaller roles. This was my first major role. My only major role. And I just remember that day so clearly, being on that pilot day, that coming in and seeing this amazing. Because we had a cast and crew of over 500, and it was just such this amazing family of people.
I like shooting the episode Grill, where I get killed, and I love working with Mark Margolis, who played my uncle on the show. He was such a sweet man and like such a really skilled actor. So it was, I like doing that episode.
I still have that grill, by the way.
I have it too.
In the box, in the plaster, yeah.
So the question I had was for all 3 of you guys. I just wanted to know, what were your guys' thoughts on the end of the series, what it meant for you?
About time.
I'm glad it ended the way it did. There was a lot of discussion about how they could, drag it out, this and that. But I think at the end of the day, they told the story, they ended it, and there's not a whole many out there that really stick the ending, and I think we did. So.
Every year was a fight to stay on the air, and so every year was kind of like, well, we might not come back. Well, you'll see, and I really just wanted them to see the end, and we had an ending. Most shows don't get an ending, and that's special to have. But,
I don't care.
Since so many characters are considered antagonists, who do you find yourself rooting for when you watch an episode?
The antagonist. Who do we root for?
There's obviously there's only one.
Yeah, Hank Trader, guys. Yeah, Walt Jr.
I was always rooting for the Salamancas to take over. Just assume the identity of the family.
Skyler for sure.
This is for all three of you. If y'all could change one thing about the final episode, what would it be?
I would kill Hank.
You took my line.
I wouldn't change a thing.
I'd unbury this guy and kill him again. It'd make it more painful.
My question's for Dean Norris and for Raymond Cruz. I want to know how was stepping back into the scene so many years post Breaking Bad to film Better Call Saul. And like, how did you guys enjoy that?
No, I never liked doing the character. I liked the result. I liked watching what we put down on film and how it came out. It's a difficult character to try to. You gotta understand when you shoot, you're shooting for like 12, 14 hours a day. So you know it's. So I would get exhausted just doing a take, and then you do it again, and then you got to do the reverse, and Vince came up to me and I would do the reverse, and I would do the exact same thing that I did when I was filming. And Vince said, "You don't have to do that," and I said, "No, I have to because their reactions need to match what the energy that I'm putting out." So you know, you're doing it, you're not even on camera, and you're doing the same thing. So you know, and it was pitched at such an intense level, physically, mentally, emotionally. You know, you just get exhausted. I mean, I would just pass out. I remember one time they wanted me to do a forced call the next day, and I couldn't do it because I was exhausted. I had to sleep, and it was the only way I could, you know, re-energize to shoot the next day. So yeah, it was a challenge.
Hi, I was just wondering what is your guys' like favorite memory, like funnest memory on set filming or off set?
I put a cigarette out on my tongue in the scene, and that's not scripted. I just did it, and Vince loved it. But I just remember, and I wasn't consciously thinking I'm going to put a cigarette out. I just did it, you know.
Favorite scene?
Favorite scene.
My favorite scene is a little scene where I'm sitting on the bed with Marie and I kind of go through the whole thing and I say, you know, I think the universe is trying to tell me something. I'm not meant to be a cop. And it was just such a beautifully written scene. And she sits there and half the scene, they just have me talking almost out of focus and it's just her kind of watching. It was just so beautiful to see like how much she loved her husband and really, I just love that one scene. So
I enjoyed Hank's geos. when the minerals, the rocks, not minerals. That was fun.
Jesus Christ, Murray.
Talking pillow was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. We're very special. We got to shoot on film. We shot in 35mm, and that's a very unique style of filming. You know, there's 5 of us sitting around this table with a talking pillow, and we're on set and pulling walls out. You know, everyone gets their close up, especially Dean. It's in all of our contract. But that scene, you know, anytime we got the whole family together, they were long days. So anytime all of us were together, it was a full day of filming it. But those were always really, really special.
Hi, so I'm actually a huge fan of Breaking Bad. I absolutely love all of the hard work and energy that you guys put into the show. And so my question is actually for you, RJ. As somebody who has watched the show, I'm on my second run now, I have noticed that in the very beginning of the show, a lot of emotions are very back and forth, especially with Walter, with how he is as a character. And the second time as I watched through, there was the scene where Walt Jr. told him to give up and die already. And I know that's a very emotional scene, so I kind of wanted to know in that moment how that made you feel. Not even just as like a character, but just like knowing that line, because I know that's a very serious topic.
Oh, yeah, he was just being a big pussy. Me and my father, who passed away a few years ago, had a very similar relationship, like me and Walt. And so for me, I was able to channel that aspect. But Brian's such an amazing, he's such an amazing guy in real life and hard worker. And so really, you may have felt there was hate there, but there wasn't. And I think it's such an important, my character, I think there's so many elements that each of our character got to show the reality of so many people and the hardship. Because what happened to the family is happening right now somewhere. Maybe not to the extent of Heisenberg, but the struggles and the medical and the jobs and the stress and these worlds, they're not so fake. And I think we have, as actors, in my opinion, we have a service to inspire emotion and to inspire insight and to invoke emotion into others. And so I love drama. I don't know what it is. I'm a shit magnet. And
Kids here.
Yeah, but if they're watching Breaking Bad, calm down. I mean, but so I really love being able to express that internally, because I was 13 turning 14 when I started the show, and I was 20 turning 21 when we finished, and so that was my teenage angst. That was all through watching.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause.